Act 5, Scene 8. Macduff, coming upon Macbeth, tells him to turn and fight. Macbeth does not wish to do so, saying that he has too much of Macduff's blood upon him already, and tells Macduff that it is no use for Macduff to try to kill him, as no man born of a woman can hurt him. When Macduff replies that Macbeth should despair of his charm protecting him, for Macduff was from his mother's womb untimely ripped. Macbeth is for a moment daunted and refuses to fight. On being told, however, that he will be made captive to be exhibited to the populace as a monster, he determines to fight to the end and is eventually slain. So Macbeth rejects the idea of imitating the ancient Romans, who thought it is a point of honor to commit suicide when faced with overwhelming odds, thus triumphing in a sense over their opponents. With animal-like ferocity, he wishes to kill as long as he sees opposing soldiers. The epithet hellhound, which Macduff uses in addressing him, combines an animal image with a diabolical image. Macduff's announcement of how he came into this world is portentous. It is as if a bloody prodigy of nature, he was prematurely called into being to meet the harsh needs of the time. He is therefore the bloody child, once pitiably weak, who is now terrifyingly invincible. Macbeth's reluctance to fight Macduff is caused in good part by the prophecy, "Beware Macduff." Nevertheless, his statement that there is too much of Macduff's blood on him already must be accepted, for it is in keeping with his expressed wish to the doctor that certain memories could be extirpated from the brain. Here, as in his expression of his desolation in his later years, we see that despite the epithets directed at him, he has not quite lost all his humanity. Terrible in his isolation, he does not leave the stage without the audience feeling some sense of loss for the extinguished, vanquished glory of this figure of darkness. His fear of Macduff, the fear of a moment, is caused by a sense of helplessness and hopelessness at having been deserted by fate. However, he summons up his resolution and dies with satanic defiance. So Macbeth's end is ultimately brought about by Macduff, which proves the prophecy of the witches again true. A little more of the summarization. In this scene, we find Macbeth in a desperate state. His own friends and thanes have deserted him and have joined Malcolm's side. The prophecies of the witches proved to be deceptive. Lady Macbeth has died already. In this condition, Macbeth thinks of committing suicide. Then his heroic qualities prevent him from taking such a step. He does not want to behave like the ancient Roman generals committing suicide with their own swords. He resolves to live as long as he sees living men and carry on his fight. Meanwhile, after a frantic search, Macduff at last finds Macbeth. However, Macbeth's humane nature suddenly surfaces as he is faced with the man who loved him well and whom he has so wronged. Macbeth accepts Macduff's challenge to fight in a duel. After fighting for some time, Macbeth warns Macduff that he can never expect to defeat him, though, as his efforts to harm him will all be futile. Macbeth tells Macduff that he is invulnerable and can never be beaten in a battle by a person born of a woman. Hence, he asks him to try his sword on persons who can be wounded. Macduff, to Macbeth's great dismay, tells him to give up his faith in such a charm, as he was not born in a natural way. He was prematurely taken out of his mother's womb. Macbeth thus curses Macduff, and he realizes the deceptive nature of the prophecies of the witches in a hard way. The witches deceive men by tempting them with the prophecies to bring about their ultimate doom. After losing all his hopes, he now expresses his desire not to fight with Macduff anymore. Macduff calls him a coward and asks him to surrender. After his surrender, he will have to live as an object, to be shown as a tyrant to all men, to be exhibited to the commoners. As a rare monster, he will be exhibited. Just to inform the public, his image will be painted on a piece of cloth hung from a pole and kept in front of him. Beneath this painting, the following words will be written: "Here may you see the tyrant." And Macbeth thus refuses to surrender immediately, and Macbeth fights desperately till his last breath. So the numerous times that we are summarizing and we are explaining it is just to supply you with more of vocabulary such that you can write down the answers. So please keep noting down all the important words and expressions that you can use while addressing the same speech, same phrase in different ways. So Macbeth realizes that the witches are equivocating fiends who deceive people, who simply deceive people and make them bring about their own downfall on their own accord. At this point of time, the audience is aware how the three prophecies of the witches were mere traps to ensnare Macbeth. Apparently, they are fulfilled literally, but they are sterile predictions without having the predicted outcome. Still, he fights desperately, but is ultimately killed by Macduff. Thus ends the bloody career of Macbeth, the hero turned a bloodthirsty tyrant. So a little bit of recapitulation, that the first prediction to Macbeth is beware of Macduff. Macbeth knows that Macduff is not a contender to the throne, and of late he has fled. The second prediction is that no man born of woman could harm Macbeth. Macbeth has been ignorant that Macduff was not born naturally. The third prophecy is that Macbeth shall not be vanquished until Birnam Wood will come to Dunsinane. Because of clever tactics of Malcolm, the Birnam Wood did march to Dunsinane in the hands of the soldiers. All this time, Macbeth has been a silent victim to the tricks played on him by the deceptive witches. So the scene takes place in just another part of the field itself, the battlefield, and Macbeth says, "Why should I play the Roman fool and die on my own sword, while I see lives the gaseous do better upon them?" So he says, why should I commit suicide like the Roman generals in the history who, to avoid the dishonor of defeat, have committed suicide on their own accord? And he is determined that as long as he sees the enemies living and breathing, he will keep inflicting on them fatal injuries which suit them better. And thus he shakes off the very idea of suicide. Macduff, turn, hellhound, turn. So turn, hell dog, turn. Macbeth, of all men else I have avoided thee, but get thee back. My soul is too much charged with blood of thine already. So he says, of all the persons I have been attacking so far, I have purposefully avoided you, and I have deliberately avoided you, but get yourself away from here. My heart is already overburdened with the murder of your family, your bloodline. Enough. Macduff, I have no words. My voice is in my sword. Thou bloodier villain than terms can give thee out. So I will not speak to you. I am not going to waste my energy in mere words, and rather I shall let my sword speak for my expression, my true intentions, my true feelings for you. And you are a villain, more murderous than any word can ever describe. Macbeth, thou losest labour, as easy mayst thou the interchant air, with thy keen sword impress, as make me bleed. Let fall thy blade on vulnerable crests. I bear a charmed life, which must not yield to one of woman born. So you are merely losing your energy. You are merely wasting your energy in vain, Macduff, because you can no more hurt me than you can put a mark on the impenetrable air with your sharp sword. So you can put a mark on the air even. You cannot harm me even by an inch of an hair. No matter how sharp your sword is, and no matter how equipped you are and how excellent a soldier you are, you may attack with your sword the helmets of persons who can be defeated. The people who are doomed already or who are destined to die, you can just defeat them. For my life is protected by magic, and it is charmed, and it is not destined to be ended by the one who is born of a woman. That means anybody on earth is obviously, everybody is born of woman, and therefore the one who is not born, which is impossible. So that kind of a person will be able to vanquish me, and therefore in a way he is very arrogantly proclaiming his invincibility. Now Macduff, despair thy charm, and let the angel whom thou still hast served tell thee, Macduff was from his mother's womb untimely ripped. So give up your faith in your magic spell, Macbeth, and let the demon whom you have always served so far tell you that Macduff was prematurely taken out of his mother's womb. He was not brought forth in the normal manner of childbirth, and therefore here is the person who is brought, who has been sent to bring forth your end. Now Macbeth, accursed be that tongue that tells me so, for it hath cowed my better part of man. So may your tongue be cursed for telling me this, for informing me this, for uttering these words, because it has made my very soul lose its courage that I had been so far boasting upon. And be these juggling fiends no more believed, and that palter with us in a double sense, that keep the word of promise to our ear and break it to our hope. I will not fight with thee. So he now is the final time that he realizes that no one should believe again in these cheating devils who play with their ambiguous words, and the poor words of promise into our ears, and then break them to make us disappointed. I will not fight with you. Macduff, then yield thee coward, and live to be the show and gaze of the time, and we will have thee as our rarer monsters are, painted upon a pole, and under it, here may you see the tyrant. So then if you don't want to fight with me, then surrender yourself, you coward, and live to be an exhibit to the people of our times. We shall paint you on a canvas and fix it on a pole with the inscription below well written that here you can see the tyrant. So Macbeth, I will not yield to kiss the ground before young Malcolm's feet, and to be baited with the rabble's curse, though Burnham would become to Dunsinane, and thou opposed being of no woman born, yet I will try the last. Before my body I throw my warlike shield. Lay on, Macduff, and damned be him that first cries, hold enough. So I will not surrender. He says that he will not surrender to kiss the ground before young Malcolm's field. He is not going to surrender before young Malcolm and be tormented by the curses of the whole of Scotland. And thou Burnham Wood has moved to Dunsinane, though Burnham Wood has moved to Dunsinane, and you, my opponent, are not born of a woman according to the prophecies. So these two last prophecies were the ones which had given me the greatest of confidence to keep on this struggle and fight and bloodshed. But now that all has been taken away, all the faith has been marred, so I shall yet try to the last without surrendering. And I place my sturdy shield before my body, and let's fight. And may he be cursed who first asks to stop the combat. And eventually Macbeth is slain by Macduff.